celebration. Thank you for tuning in to Gospel Celebration, your cornerstone. The station that serves your community, 2020 WGBB. This is WGBB AM 1240 and W240 DFFM. Celebration. Thank you for tuning in to Gospel Celebration, your cornerstone. The station that serves your community, 2020 WGBB. This is WGBB AM 1240 and W240 DFFM 95.9 Freeport, New York. This is WGBB. This is WGBB AM 1240 and
if it's necessarily what you'd call the back end of the bullpen, because he might be a little more of like a sixth or seventh inning guy. But to be quite honest, Mickey Callaway said that he wants to stay away from designated bullpen roles, which can't make Jerry's Familia too happy. Is he wants to get paid like a closer, and I can't blame him for that. But when you're the Mets and you look at this edition, I'm not gonna poo-poo this edition. I think it's a good step. It can't be the only step, along with the fact that the Mets signed catcher Jose Lobaton, former Washington Nationals backup, who hit 170 last year. So bringing in those big bats. And, but I got to say, though, Lobaton, this guy had a knack for getting a big hit against the Mets in a big spot. As a matter of fact, he hit 170 last year, but he hit 318 against the Mets, to the surprise of no one. He also only hit 4 home runs last year. 2 of them were against the Mets. So, I guess the Mets decided to take out their modern-day thorn in their side, modern-day Chipper Jones, and just put him on the roster. They don't have Rene Rivera anymore. Plawecki is going to be in that mix with Travis d'Arnaud. So you never know. Lobaton might not even see a day on the Major League roster. He might just play out the year in AAA. But I guess you never know. Injury pops up. This guy could end up seeing time in the field. But those 2 free agent signings aside, the reason why I started off with the Mets is because I wanted to give general manager Sandy Alderson a piece of my mind. Now, actually, Sandy Alderson is starting to sound a lot more like, Rodney Dangerfield or Jerry Seinfeld these days, because he's cracking jokes every time you turn around. This guy, oh man, I'm surprised that they haven't given him a set yet at the Ha Ha Hut. What is going on? What's going on with this guy? His reasoning, or obviously tongue in cheek, but his reasoning for not going after Giancarlo Stanton was, well, Met fans, why would we want Giancarlo Stanton when we have Brandon Nimmo in right field? Yep, that's actually a sentence that came out of our general manager's mouth. Obviously, he was kidding. I didn't find it funny. As a matter of fact, I found it enraging, because there's nothing worse than having a cheap team. But the only thing worse than that is a cheap team that tries to be funny about it. I could at least give them props for trying. But, you go out and you sign a reliever to a $7 million deal. They did the same thing a couple of years ago at Frank Francisco. It's a very similar deal. They didn't break the bank. You know what? If you want to go out and you want to impress me, how about you go after Wade Davis? And you know what? Let's play on that for a second anyway. Now, this guy, after that joke and how he saw that it didn't go over well with people, our joke of a general manager decided that he's going to start complaining about people talking about the payroll. That he's going to be upset that he would say, folks should spend a little less time worrying about our payroll. Well, you know what, Sandy? I would stop worrying about our payroll if you went out and signed a guy like Wade Davis. I would stop worrying about our payroll if you went out and traded for a guy like Manny Machado. I would stop worrying about our payroll if you signed Eric Hosmer or Mike Moustakas or gave us something. The Mets are letting this window slip through their fingers by being cheap. I thought we were told years ago that this Madoff business was in the past. Why are we still sitting here? Going into 2018, worried about payroll? This is a team that almost 15 years ago had a payroll between 130 and 115 million. How are we still there? How do we have 130 to 150 million dollar payroll? Listen, I'm not saying that they're the Florida Marlins. I'm not saying that they're cutting payroll for no reason. I'm not saying that, but the fact is, you play in New York. You play opposite the New York Yankees. Now, if you don't like that, get out of New York. Move to Montana, where they don't care about baseball. Go somewhere else. Because, frankly, I'm sick of sitting here watching you guys sit on your hands and then joke about it with your obvious disdain towards Met fans. It makes me sick. It makes me very mad. And when the Mets have the pieces to make these trades, when they obviously have the money to sign somebody, they just, what a lot of people what's gone underreported is that just a few days ago, I don't know what exactly happened. Major League Baseball sold some kind of thing. It's called BAM, BAM. I don't even know what it means, but they sold it. So every team in Major League Baseball is getting a $50 million check. Mm. Now I wonder if the Mets are going to do good by their fans and reinvest that money. Nope. I wonder if the Mets are going to reinvest the money that they've saved over David Wright for the last 3 years, since he's never played in over 40 games. So for the last 3 years, at least, and probably more, but at least 75% of his salary has been paid by insurance, not by the Mets. Has that money been reinvested into the team? No. Hmm. Yeah, it's pretty angering, especially when you're against a team like the Yankees that is hovering around a $200 million payroll, if not higher than that. You know, they knocked off a team with a $300 million payroll a couple of years ago in the Los Angeles Dodgers, and but look, the Dodgers spend money, and look who was in the World Series this year. Where were our Mets? Oh yeah, 70 wins, nowhere near the playoffs. And you know what? Also, I find funny too. How about when they traded Jay Bruce this year, and they completely stripped down our entire team? They traded Jay Bruce, they traded Neil Walker, they traded Addison Reed, they traded anybody with a pulse on this club, and we were also under the impression that they were going to reinvest that money too. You save all this money during the regular season on trading all your top guys, on getting insurance to cover David Wright's costs, on everything. Now you have also Curtis Granderson's coming off the books. How is none of this money being reinvested? If the Mets turned around and spent 15 or 16 million dollars that they that is off the books now for Curtis Granderson and on one player, I'm not saying I don't want to hear. Oh well, we're gonna get Lobaton and Swarzak, another guy that's gonna make up for the 15 million with Curtis Granderson. How about you go out and you drop the 15 mil on one good difference-making player? The Mets don't have a third baseman now. Are you really going to give me Asdrubal Cabrera for 162 games at third base next year? Do you think he's going to hold up? The guy's knees are basically falling off as it is. Thinking about the Mets just gives me a migraine. This team, I just don't get it. Between their general manager cracking jokes, and their ownership not willing to spend. It's sickening. Especially like I've been saying, when you got the Yankees across town, it really just makes you angry, and it just says, there's a reason why the Mets are the second fiddle in this town. There's a reason, and because they treat themselves like it. Now you can go out there and you can knock the Islanders and say, oh yeah, they're the second fiddle to the Rangers. But you know what? Islanders have gone out there and spent money in the past. Maybe not a ton of money, but they've brought in big name players. Nick Leddy. They've made all these trades and everything the last couple of years. The Islanders actually acquire talent and pay them if they have, for the most part. For the most part. They might not have the opportunity to pay Tavares after this year, but that would probably be more on Tavares than the Islanders, to be honest. The Jets, too. The Jets in the past have spent big-time money in this town. Don't forget about that. I remember the Jets going on free agent sprees. Now, it didn't always work out, but then again, I remember that big free agent spree that the Jets had before that 2009 run with Rex Ryan, right in the 2007 offseason. They spent a lot of money bringing in guys like Damian Woody and Chris Jenkins and guys along those lines, and even the what's it called, even Thomas Jones at running back. That they went out and did what they needed to do. Mets aren't doing that. Mets are leaving it all up to the fans, and even just like Sandy said, oh, just because the fans show up and we do good doesn't mean we're going to reinvest the money. Oh. So you're a minor league, you're a minor league team. All right, get the Vegas 51s up here. I'd rather see that than be teased by this team that should be good when you have pieces like Syndergaard, DeGrom, and Matz and Familia in the bullpen, and you got, offensive talent like Cespedes on that field and everything. It's just disgusting that they're not reinvesting that money. And the Wilpon should be thrown out of Major League Baseball. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Freddie. I know you're not going to hear this. Maybe I'll email it to you so you do. But you need to get run out of New York, especially if you're not spending money. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, at least I got that off my chest. Thank you for sticking with me here on Coffee with Cramer. We're going to take our first break of the day. We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us. All right, and welcome back, everybody. It's This Day in Sports History, brought to you by Farrell's Sports Bar and Grill. Farrell's Sports Bar and Grill is located at 2819 North Jerusalem Avenue in East Meadow, New York. Farrell's is an establishment with a long history, and it's now under new management. If their friendly staff and great kitchen doesn't bring you in, their drink specials during all the games will. $3 shot specials during games, and it's all top shelf. Wild Turkey, Jameson, Fireball, and more. They have all the games you want, including the local games, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Islanders, Jets, and Giants. But any of the game you want, they'll gladly put it on. They have every package you need. Come down and enjoy their family-friendly, laid-back atmosphere, and don't forget to try the house sauce of the day if you order the wings. Come down to Farrell's Sports Bar and Grill, open every day at 11 a.m. Farrell's, a great bar for a great time. This day in sports history, December 16, 1962, New York Giants quarterback Y.A. Tittle throws for 6 touchdown passes to set the new NFL record at 33 as the New York Giants defeat the Dallas Cowboys 41-31 at Yankee Stadium. This would be the Giants' 12th win of the year, and they'd go on to lose the NFL championship game against the Green Bay Packers. 10 years later, December 16, 1972, the Miami Dolphins defeat the Baltimore Colts, shutting them out 16-0 in the Orange Bowl to improve to 14-0 on the season. This would be the first team ever to go undefeated in the regular season, and they are still the only undefeated team, including the playoffs, as the New England Patriots a couple of years ago lost that famous game to the New York Giants. The next year, December 16, 1973, O.J. Simpson runs for 200 yards in Shea Stadium as the Bills defeat the Jets 34-14. In doing so, O.J. became the first player to ever run for 2,000 yards in a regular season in the NFL. December 16, 1979, Dallas Cowboys quarterback Roger Staubach starts his final regular season game as a Cowboy in a 35-34 win in Dallas against the Redskins. He'd also go on to start their playoff game that year, which they'd lose. December 16, 1983, Yogi Berra was named Yankees manager after taking over for Billy Martin to manage the Yanks for the first time in 20 years. He'd guide the team through a mediocre 1984 season before being replaced by Billy Martin after a disappointing 6-10 start the following year in 1985. And finally, on December 16, 1997, the San Francisco 49ers retired Joe Montana as number 16 during a halftime ceremony against, appropriately, the future Super Bowl champion John Elway and the Denver Broncos. All right, and thank you for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. That's This Day in Sports History. Don't forget to check out Farrell's, a great bar for a great time. All right, and while we're back, I want to talk about get into a little football now, as it was a slightly miserable week in New York football, and that seems like that at least the first half of today's show is going to be just talking about the gray rain cloud following the teams that I root for, and the New York Giants too. The Giants have had that rain cloud over their head all year, but we're going to start off with the New York Jets. And listen, I've been a Jet fan for the better part of 30 years now, and that game in Denver was probably one of the worst games I've ever had the misfortune of sitting through. The Jets would lose 23-0 as the Broncos just, they acted like they weren't on an 8-game losing streak. It looked like the Jets were the ones on an 8-game losing streak, to be quite honest. And the Jets were favored in that game too, which is just very disappointing. They had a faint pulse, like I said, it might have been faint, but it was there in the playoff hunt. At 5-7, they had a chance. If you win that game at 6-7, you're definitely in the mix down the stretch. Your odds aren't as good as some teams, but you know there was no reason to think that the Jets were going to lay an egg in the fashion that they did. But you know what? They did, and this is just another egg they've laid this year. Look at all the games that they should have won. They should have definitely won that game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a couple weeks back, coming out of their bye week. They definitely should have won yesterday's game. This team on an 8-game losing streak. The game where they were up in Miami, where they had the 28-14 lead and blew that game and lost 31-28. The game against the New England Patriots, where they should have won that game. And, bad calls aside, the Jets are professionals and should have won that game. Also, the Atlanta Falcons, remember that game? That was another blown game where they led late and just choked down the stretch. And, I got to say that, to me, a lot of that falls on the coach. And, you had a lot of people in this town calling for Todd Bowles to get an extension coming off the strong start they had. But, man, how can you give this guy an extension if they finish 5-11 this year? Which they probably will, to be quite honest. They, I don't see them winning tomorrow. I'm not saying it's out of the record, out of the realm of possibility, but the fact of the matter is the Jets haven't won in New Orleans since 2001. That was a 16-9 win in the Superdome. The same game where Kyle Turley ripped off the Jets safety's helmet, Damian Robertson. And, the Jets, that was the last time the Jets won that. It's 16 years ago. The Jets did win the last game that these two teams played. That was at MetLife. It was 26-20 in 2013. But, hey, I mean, it's just not looking good right now for the Jets. Things keep getting worse. Specifically for Todd Bowles, because you've seen a lot of good things from the Jets this year, but you've also seen a lot of bad things. Like last week, I spoke about Mo Wilkerson. Now, earlier on in the year, I was very, I was very, what's the word I'm looking for? I was very intrigued by Mo Wilkerson. I thought that he was going to be this guy coming off an injury, looking for redemption. He had a bad year last year, and he wants to prove himself. He got paid. I remember one of the things that made me very happy was when the Giants paid Damon Harrison, or should I say stolen from the Jets. But when the Giants paid him, what's the first thing that guy did? He got married that summer, and he didn't even go on his honeymoon because he wanted to put in the extra work for the Giants. Now, if you ask me too, the Jets not paying a guy like that says a lot about that organization. Because to let him walk, to let a guy that's going to bust his butt for you, and it's going to make sure that he's at all the team meetings, and that he's on time, and that he's one of the highest paid guys in the room, so he's going to lead by example. It doesn't seem like that's that's something that Mo Wilkerson at least cares about doing. And as I turn to Mo Wilkerson, he will not be joining the team on their flight to New Orleans. He will not be playing in the game tomorrow, as he will be suspended. He was suspended last week for 1 quarter, which I think was a little, ridiculous. That you either should suspend the guy or not suspend the guy. Don't just do, the 1 quarter crap. That's that's NCAA stuff, if you ask me. When you're in the NFL, these are adults. These are people that should be treated like adults. And if Mo Wilkerson wasn't going to care enough to show up to work on time and to be there when he needs to be, then he should be suspended. And that's what Coach finally did this week, as Wilkerson reportedly, ESPN's Rich Samini put a report out saying that on Thursday, Mo Wilkerson was late yet again to another team meeting. I'm sorry. I've been a big supporter of Mo's since he's been in New York. I was calling for him to get paid after 2015, which he did. I regret that now. I really do. Mo Wilkerson is proving that he's not worth the money, unlike Damon Harrison. It's very disappointing. I'm more disappointed in Mo Wilkerson than a lot of the athletes that are on my teams right now. I can't think of one athlete on any one of my other teams, as angry as I might be with them. I can't think of one person that disappoints me more than Mo Wilkerson. This is a guy that 2 out of 3 years, 13 and 15, had double-digit sacks, was a difference maker on any defensive line in the NFL. He's one of the better guys out there. And he's just, I don't know. He took his foot off the brake. He took his foot off the pedal, I guess. He's not, he doesn't have that same overdrive that he used to, it seems. Very disappointing, But just to get back to the game, as disappointed as I am with Mo Wilkerson, I'm glad he's not playing on Sunday, because he should be off the team next year. But Bryce Petty will start, because unfortunately Josh McCown broke his left hand. He's going to be out for the rest of the year. Halfback, Matt Forte seems to think that could be the last pass of his career, which would just be terrible. I would love to see McCown back next year, hopefully grooming a young quarterback the Jets have picked up in this offseason, hopefully in the draft, which also is a good thing down the stretch, too, that the Jets right now are in position to pick about 10th in the draft. I think it was 11th, but give or take, tiebreakers, whatever, they'll be right around the top 10. Losing these next 3 games should put them in good draft position, and they will lose the next 3 games, and it will look very, very ugly, because two of the 3 teams are top in the league. You have the Patriots and the Saints, and then next week, you have the San Diego Chargers, who have been one of the hotter teams in the league as well. So it's going to be very interesting. Bryce Petty will start his first game of the year tomorrow, 1 p.m. at the Superdome. Jets are 1-5 on the road this year, so that record is not going to get much better. And like I said, I don't know if Todd Bowles is the man to lead this team. I don't even know if Mike McKagan is the man to be making all the decisions in the front office, although it seems to me like McKagan has had a few more right answers than Todd Bowles these days. But, you never know. They're going to judge him as a pair. They're going to judge him individually. We'll see. And, with that, quickly I want to touch on the Giants real quick, as, the Giants lost Steve Spagnuolo's debut 30-10 at MetLife against the Dallas Cowboys. They played a very conservative game. And to be honest, if Spagnuolo was looking to stand out and was looking to get this job and was looking to make his name heard, he did not do a very good job. Sure, it was 10-10 going into the fourth quarter, and I'll give the Giants all the credit in the world for that. But then they fell apart. They let 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Bada bang, bada boom, see you later, game over. And, now the Giants will turn their attention to the Eagles tomorrow. A slightly hampered Eagles team, too, as probably a guy that was on pace to be an all-pro this year in Carson Wentz with 33 touchdowns to only 7 picks. He had 3,200 yards. He was having just a fantastic season. And he went down with a big knee problem. Actually stayed in the game after the injury and threw a touchdown last week. But just to show what a tough guy he is. But, he won't be there. He won't be standing in the Giants' way this week. But, in my opinion, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, the backup quarterbacks, Nick Foles, will be starting this game. So, it's not going to get all that much easier for the Giants. And, the Giants have only beaten the Eagles once since 2013. They've lost 6 of the last 7 games against this team. So you're going to have a motivated Giants team. they're sick of seeing these Eagles colors, and they're sick of seeing those Eagles colors and meaning that they're going to be taking a loss that day. So you're going to have a motivated Giants squad, I believe, but how much that motivation helps them win this game remains to be seen, because you know if you're an Eagles fan, you know how deep your team is. You know how talented they are. And the Giants, with all their injuries and everything, I don't think the Giants can compete. Defensively, it might be a little bit more of a defensive struggle than we'd expect, especially with the backup being in there. And the Giants' defense has played, until the fourth quarter last week, had played a little bit better in recent weeks. So that's just going to be something to keep your eye on. The Eagles are 11-2, so they don't need the win. So, in my opinion, it's not 100% given that the Giants are going to lose this game, but more than likely. It wouldn't surprise me if the Eagles did not even miss a step with Foles in there. He's such a good quarterback. He's so calm in that pocket, and his demeanor, behind the line of scrimmage, it's something that it's a good thing that once the Eagles picked this guy up, that they didn't pull Patriots and just trade him away like the Pats did for Garoppolo. They kept him. They stored him on the bench. They said, let's just keep him in case of a rainy day. And when those rain clouds showed up and Carson Wentz went down, now Nick Foles rides in on the white horse to save the day. And you could make the case that the Giants are due for a feel-good win, for a good outing, but I don't know. It's this game. The Eagles have been a good road team this year. The Giants have not been a good team at home or on the road. So this will be the Giants' second to last home game. They'll play their last road game next week in Arizona, and then they'll wrap up the season in the finale at home against the Washington Redskins. So, if you're a Giant fan, don't worry, it's almost over. This horrendous season that you'll unfortunately never forget is going to be in the rearview mirror in just a couple of weeks. Listen, if you go 2-14, you got a hell of a good chance of picking high in the draft. You're probably locked into top 3 already, and it's going to be very interesting to see. Is Spagnuolo going to stick around? More than likely not, I would think. But you never know, and it's just going to be very, very interesting, in my opinion. To see how these next couple of games pan out, and then to see where the Giants go from there. So, all right, thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to be taking our second break of the day, and when we get back, we're going to be doing our football picks, talking a little hockey. If you want, give us a call at 1-631-888-8811. I'd love to talk to anybody here. On our last show of 2017, be sure to give us a ring if you can. Be sure to tune in, follow us on social media, Coffee with Cramer on Twitter, check us out on SoundCloud, all of our old shows, and thanks for joining us. We'll be right back.
Hey, Russell Wilson here, and I know how important exercise is. With Play 60, United Way in the NFL, helping kids stay active and play at least 60 minutes a day. But what this place needs is you. To donate or volunteer, go to unitedway.org/play60, because great things happen when we live united. And you guys can do that every time. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
The NLS Braille and Audio Reading Download Service gives patrons with visual impairments or physical limitations the freedom to read their work.
BARD is this beautiful web-based program for searching for books and for the ability to download them.
It's a great way to have a book with you without carrying a book.
For information about the National Library Service for the Blind and Physically Handicapped Library of Congress, visit loc.gov/thatallmayread.
Mr. Grinch, you ready? Oh, a hero. You're as cuddly as a cactus, you're as charming as an eel. Mr. Grinch, you're a
All right, thanks for joining us, ladies and gentlemen, and coming back to a little Tim Time Bomb with the cover of Mr. Grinch. Can't beat that. And last night, we'll come back and talk about the New York Rangers. As last night at Madison Square Garden, they beat one of the best teams in hockey, the LA Kings, 4-2. It was really just a great game. The Rangers would jump out and grab 2 leads, only to see the Kings respond both times, and we found ourselves in a 2-2 tie late in the third period. That's when Rick Nash stepped up and scored a huge goal, unassisted, lifting the Rangers up 3-2 with 4 minutes left in regulation. That's about, you can't say it's as big a goal as Nash has scored as a Ranger because, they've played a lot of big playoff minutes, and he's had a lot of big moments, to be honest, the last few years. But it's got to be his biggest goal of the year because to get this win, and remember too what preceded this. The Rangers had lost 3 of 4. Luckily for them, one of them was in overtime, so at least they got the point. But you had to start to change the narrative. Fans are starting to get upset. They're starting to get angry that the team's underperforming, or at least certain expectations. And this is something the Rangers could not afford in their division, Metropolitan Division, to lose this game. Space is so limited in this division, the playoff hunt and everything, and you can't expect to make the playoffs if you're losing games, especially at home. You have to be a dominant home team, especially in this league if you're going to make the playoffs. It's something that the Rangers have to remember to do, and last night they made it as hard as possible for the Los Angeles Kings to play them, and JT Miller would ice it late with a goal with under a minute left in the third period to make it 4-2. Like I said, Rangers walk away with those 2 huge points, and it's when the thing that preceded that too was you're starting to get a couple of local publications, whether it be writers at the New York Post, whether it be which I saw Larry Brooks' article, which made me upset that Larry Brooks, it looks like he might be throwing in the towel on the season, which they're 4 points out of first place. Larry, what are you doing? And Scott Hartnett from WFAN wrote an article too about how the Rangers are a mess. How are you a mess if you're 4 points out of first place in your division? I don't get it. They're also only 2 points behind being in the top 3 in their division, which makes them a guaranteed playoff spot. So and they're also the top spot in the wild card. So how are the Rangers in such a terrible spot right now? We could be where Derek Stepan is on a Arizona Coyotes team that's buried and it's never going to see the light of day. This is it's just something that I don't understand. I think the Rangers' demise has been widely spread, but it's not true. It's it really makes me laugh to think these people calling the Rangers out. To not see the talent on this team is to be blind. Now, I understand you can have a talented team that just can't put it together and get a victory, or string a bunch of victories together. But as talented as this team may be, in their division, you can't afford to lose, especially long losing streaks. Obviously, you're going to lose every once in a while, but losing 3 out of 4, okay, that's where you got to stop it. That's why last night was big. So 3 out of 4 didn't turn into 4 out of 5, and especially at home, the Rangers put their foot down. They got those 2 points, and that was freaking huge. Their whole division is basically separated by 6 or 7 points from top to bottom. I mean, the top team has 41 points. I think you got 2 tied at the top of 41, and then when you look down and you're looking at the second, I guess you could call them the second tier teams in Philadelphia and Carolina. They're both sitting at 33, so they're only 6-7 points behind. It's going to be tough, man. I mean, last year, it was tough the whole way through, and of course, the Islanders and everything, made the playoffs. The Blue Jackets made the playoffs, and it's one of those things where you have to come to the realization that there's really nothing that you can do. This is going to be another year where good teams are going to miss the playoffs because there's simply too many of them. It kind of reminds me of like the NBA 10 years ago. I remember looking at like Golden State. I think it was 2008. Golden State won 48 games in that old Western Conference and missed the playoffs. How insane is that? And you had teams that were under 500 in the East making the playoffs. That showed the competition balance was all out of whack. And I don't know if the competition balance in the NHL is so much out of whack because they have pretty decent Western Conference too. But over here in the East, man, things are tight, especially in the Metro. I knew we were going to be in for trouble when they added the Caps and the Blue Jackets to our division. That's just, I hate this new division, actually. I wish it was still like the old days where it was the Atlantic Division and it was just us, the Flyers, the Penguins, the Islanders, and, I think, and the Devils. I think that was, the best bet. Now, how we in the same division as a team from Washington, D.C., how we in the same division as the Columbus Blue Jackets when we're not even in the same time zone. So, that kind of thing annoys me. And also seeing Torts over there a couple of times a year. John Tortorella really knows how to anger his former fan base. And, one other thing I do want to make a tip of the cap to is in that game they lost in overtime earlier this week against Dallas, a game they had no business in being in. They were really held up by the backup goalie Pavlik. Pavlik had his signature outing as a New York Ranger. He stopped 44 of 45 shots in regulation and overtime, and this freaking guy. He's the only Ranger goaltender in the last 16 years that not named Henrik Lundqvist to stop that many shots in a game. The last time a player stopped 44 shots or more, or at least 44 shots in a Rangers game was Dan Blackburn in 2001. Backup goalie at the time, Dan Blackburn. Stopped 2001. Man, I remember thinking that guy was the goalie of the future, only to see him go down with concussion problems and to be replaced by Mike Dunham. That stunk. So that was just a very impressive outing from our boy Pavlik, and after those tough losses this week, it made it a must-win game, and the beating the Kings last night that was about as good as you could possibly. About as good as you could possibly do. The Rangers are on a great run, and it's very intriguing to see how the Rangers have kept themselves above water. No doubt about it. And all right, ladies and gentlemen, with that, we're gonna take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're gonna be talking Knicks at the end. So if you want to talk Knicks, please give me a call, and yeah, we'll be right back, and we'll be doing our football picks. So thank you for joining us on Coffee or Kramer.
I had to play it on just now, but I'll go back up. I'm going to do it. Right there. Okay, thank you.
All right, everybody, Universal Armor Systems. Universal Armor Systems is a personal armor company that has revolutionized the ballistics industry. It's the new generation of personal protection apparel, and it's made from the world's lightest and strongest fibers. Their products are lightweight, flexible, and have outperformed all the current body and armor that's being used today. Universal Armor Systems products are state-of-the-art bullet and fire-resistant technology. This is life-saving technology at its best, people. Universal Armor Systems. Saving lives is what they do. For more info, check out their website at universalarmorsystems.com or contact Stephen at universalarmorsystems.com. That's Stephen, Stephen, at universalarmorsystems.com.
A guy's on the phone saying he want to talk to you. You gotta call him.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Oh, okay.
So, when we come back, is this sometime at the next?
Yeah, you can.
When we come back, I'll do it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, and I just want to do our NFL picks real quick, and I'm just gonna do the picks for Saturday, as this is our last edition of 2017 regular season picks, and it'll be let's see, we got the Chicago Bears and the Detroit Lions going today, and the Lions are favored by 5 points. They're -5. And I'm going to pick the Detroit Lions in this one. As much as the Bears impressed me with the big win last week, I think that the Lions are due for a win. And I expected them to win today, and I will take them -5. And also tonight, it'll be the Los Angeles Chargers in Kansas City to take on the Chiefs. This game's basically a pick'em, as the Kansas City Chiefs are favored +1, actually the Kansas City Chiefs are underdogs +1. I'm sorry about that, and I'm going to take the Los Angeles Chargers -1. I think that's a good bet. As much as Kansas City looked good last week, I don't think that they are 100% going to be keeping it up, and I fully expect to see them to keep it going. And don't forget, this bet segment is brought to you by 5dimes.eu. If you want more information on 5dimes.eu, please check us out on our homepage on the AM1240WGBB.com website. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be right back. Trevor. You're the man, Trevor. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Coffee with Cramer. And we're going to be going to the phone lines right now. And, talk to us, caller. What's going on?
Hey, Rob, what's going on, man? Love the show. Just wanted to talk some New York Knicks and Melo's homecoming today. Wanted to know your thoughts on that.
Oh, yeah, thank you. What's your name, caller?
This is Jimmy from Baldwin.
Hey, Jimmy, thanks for calling in, buddy. I appreciate it, man.
Not a problem.
And, basically what, the big game going on tonight, as you mentioned, is Carmelo's return. And personally, I like that the return that we got from Carmelo better than that, as we got Cantor and McDermott for that. But yeah, it's going to be big. Unfortunately, KP might not be involved. He had that knee issue.
A knee problem, yeah.
Yeah, but luckily they're saying it's not any structural damage, and so he might just miss this game. But it's also not 100% that he's out tonight. So the only thing that stinks is that it looks like without KP in the lineup, this is pretty much a loss you can chalk up. What do you think about that?
Absolutely, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah,
it's gonna be good to see the young guns out there and trying to hold their own, though.
Oh no,
I really like Cantor. I really like these young guys they got. I like McDermott. I think we got a great trade for Carmelo. You called it, man. I wasn't a believer at first, but you definitely hit the nail on the head with that one.
Well, thank you, Jimmy. I appreciate that, buddy. And thank you for calling in, man. Have a good one.
No problem, man.
All right. Thank you, buddy. You too. That's Jimmy from Baldwin, and hey, that's that's a great point that the guy made. It's one of those things where, we got a great package back from Carmelo, and don't forget we got a second-round pick in that too, from the Chicago Bulls, who are currently one of the worst teams in the NBA, even though they beat the Knicks last week. But yeah, Jimmy's got a good point. This is the thing that stinks is that we got our 7'3" guy on the sideline now. Again, and this is the scary situation where it's turning out to be, he's looking a little more injury prone than we might have liked, and especially the types of injuries. It was a non-contact injury where he just pulled himself out of the game against the Nets the other night, and that's something that you really don't want to be seeing if you're a Knicks fan, especially non-contact. That is just worrisome. I got to tell you. And like I mentioned, they lost that game to the Bulls last week, a 4-20 Bulls team, which is just unacceptable. But on the bright side, when you lose that game right after they lost, the first thing I said was, okay, we got to go out and we got to win all 3 games next week. No doubt about it. No, if you lose one of those games, you're a stiff team, and you might as well just get ready for the draft lottery. But to their credit, they went out and they beat Atlanta. They beat Los Angeles Lakers, even though it took it to overtime, and they beat Brooklyn for the second half, mostly without Porzingis. So getting those 3 wins to get the Knicks back over 500 on a bit of a roll, feeling good about themselves. They're 15-13, and aside from that big scare, this was a pretty big win. A pretty nice week for the New York Knicks, and they just got to make sure that their 7'3" big guy take care of his legs. That's all you can ask for, and unfortunately, it seems that's where most of his injuries come from. If this guy can stay healthy enough to play in over 70 games this year, which is probably asking a lot, the Knicks have a great shot at making the playoffs. If he's playing significantly less than 70, like if he's playing like between 55 and 60, we're probably going to be looking at the draft lottery. That's the thing that's disappointing. And as our caller mentioned, the Carmelo's return tonight is going to be a big story, no doubt about it. This is a guy who was a good soldier for the Knicks. This is a guy who went out there and even though I've said that actually, and I've gotten a lot of angry responses from Knicks fans, but it's one of those things where, listen, Carmelo Anthony. I was gonna say he didn't ask to be traded here, but he actually did. But he didn't dictate who they gave up for it. You could thank Jim Dolan for that. The reason why we gave up Gallinari and a couple of draft picks and Timothy Mozgov, and they basically sold their souls for this guy, is because Jim Dolan forced Donnie Walsh to do it. And, that really started the spiral. I believe they had that one good year in 12-13 when they won the 54 games and everything was looking hunky dory, and it just lasted that one year. They made the playoffs a couple other times, but they didn't really do anything. With Carmelo now, it's gonna be interesting to see him tonight in another jersey. It's gonna be interesting to see how the guard reacts to him. Um, this is gonna be a big win for the Knicks tonight if they win, because especially if you're playing without Porzingis, you got to figure out how to get these W's. It's not like hockey where you can go into overtime and get a loss and still come out of it with a point. So you still advanced yourself in the standings a little bit. In basketball, it's not like that. Basketball, it's either all or nothing. And the Knicks are going to need at least 40 to 41 wins, in my opinion, if they want to keep themselves relevant in the playoff race. And to be 15-13, they're on the right track. They're definitely on the right track. And another good thing for them is that Oklahoma City hasn't exactly been killing it. They're currently sitting under 500. They're not looking good. Carmelo is only averaging 17 a game, so it's not like he's going out there and averaging 30 and carrying them. No, he's been a role player at best this year, and Oklahoma City was really going for it, and it's not looking like it's it's not looking like it's working out right now. And that the one thing that worries people in Oklahoma City is something that might worry a couple of Yankee fans when sometimes you have too many stars, which is an argument people were saying for not wanting to pick up Giancarlo Stanton. You have too many stars. It dilutes the product. It makes it less authentic. It takes a bunch of guys that were good on their own and putting them together doesn't necessarily mean they're going to do as well as as they as a team, as a unit. Look at those '98 Yankees when you go back. That's one team that I always look to that didn't really have any major stars on it. The Roger Clemens and the Jason Giambis were a couple of years off before they started joining. But you had better than average players like guys like David Cohn, Andy Pettitte, Tino Martinez, Bernie Williams, Paul O'Neill, Scott Brocious. And then you had the crown jewel in Derek Jeter. But every other guy I named aside from Jeter is not a Hall of Famer. The only other guy they had that's a Hall of Famer is at that time is Mariano Rivera. And that's exactly where you needed him too, to lock it down in those one-run games, and the greatest postseason pitcher of all time, the greatest closer of all time, and one of the best-hitting shortstops, and one of the clutchest shortstops too. So I don't know how I got talking about the Yankees there, but I'm waxing poetic about the Yanks. But it's one of those situations right now where you have to have that camaraderie, and it looks like Oklahoma City doesn't have it. You know what team does have it? The New York Knicks, with their young guys in there. They're all coming together. You have guys like Dotson. You have Neil Aquino, who Neil Aquino looks like a real player. Neil Aquino looks like he's actually getting it done. And, he's dishing, he's swishing and dishing to take it from Clyde. And, another guy that's impressed me is Jarrett Jack. And, it's that's something that the Knicks really are going to have to, keep their heads in. And, no doubt about it. This is a situation where tonight is a big game. You have to keep the momentum going. You won the last 3 games. Keep it going, man. Especially with that loss to the Bulls last week. Make it count. Don't sit here and tell me that you're gonna compete and you're gonna do one thing, and this is something where the Knicks can really start to mount that good feelings from their team and their fans. So Knicks, go out there and get the job done tonight. And ladies and gentlemen, we're running out of time here as I'm yapping about the Knicks. Thank you so much for joining me the last few months here on Coffee with Cramer. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Trevor, thank you for being great behind the glass, buddy. You're the best. You, I want to thank Rob from the station and Jeff Lowe from the station, and thank everybody here. It's been so fun to be here and hanging out with you guys and doing radio, and thank you for welcoming me with open arms, and it's been a lot of fun. Thank you to my family for tuning in. Thank you for everybody at Farmingdale State College for tuning in, and thank you for all my friends, and thank you everybody. Please check us out on YouTube. Check out our podcast. I'll be going live next week. As I'll be doing a special holiday show, same time on YouTube. If you want to check it out, please check us out, and stay tuned for Opportunity with the Vision. And Mr. Samuel L. Jackson, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Have a great weekend. I'll see you in 2018.
It's 6:42 p.m. Time for Steve Watto and his son Dylan to do the dishes. They talk about everything from the yuckiness of girls to the awesomeness of his soccer team. Sometimes they don't talk at all. Then